guys heard of Blackout Haunted House?
Believe it or not, the Halloween season is almost upon us. I don't know about you, but one of my favorite Halloween activities is going to a haunted house or a haunted maze. The adrenaline rush you get from zombies jumping out at you, a pumpkin head following you through the corn, or crazed clowns chasing you with a chainsaw, it simply can't get any better. We've talked about McKamey Manor before, advertised as an extreme haunt, but is really just some guy's legal torture fantasies played out in real life. Well, there's a lesser known extreme haunt in New York that actually does things right. It's called Blackout. The haunt is typically under 30 minutes, and it's 30 minutes of a complete mindfuck. Apparently, you're taken through the most immersive and terrifying journey of your life, and that journey will be completely out of your control. You may be stripped naked, you may put things in your mouth that under normal circumstances you wouldn't dream of. You may witness things that you just can't unsee, and it'll be one of the best days of your life. Hey humans, it's Hannah. Welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new here, I do videos on creepy and disturbing things. So if that's also your thing, consider subscribing. Seriously, there is an extreme haunt in New York that is like what I just described, but I'm very happy to report that it is nothing like McKamey Manor. The scares are different, it's not in someone's backyard, and best of all, you actually get a safe word that you can use. There's a lot of really interesting rules that go along with the extreme haunt. Like I said, it's located in New York, and according to their website, there's a ton of rules you have to follow. The most notable ones being you have to be 18 years or older, no underage people are allowed. You cannot walk through with a group of friends or even one other friend. You have to go alone. One of the rules said, do not ever touch the walls. Another said, do not talk to the actors under any circumstance unless specifically instructed to do so. And generally just do exactly what you're told. And if you're not, then nothing bad happens, you're just kicked out. If you decide at any point during the haunt that you just can't do this, then you can yell safety. And the experience will stop immediately. You'll be escorted out, and again, you won't get a refund, but you also can't just skip a part if you don't like that part. You have to do it all or nothing. If you say safety, you're out. But you know, this is how responsible extreme haunts are supposed to act. And people that have gone through said that the waiver you have to sign is, of course, very long since it involves the actors, you know, interacting with you a lot more. By the way, an entry fee is about $45 US. So I've watched a lot of videos and I've read a lot of firsthand accounts of people that have actually gone through. So I'm going to tell you everything that might happen if you chose to go through the haunt. So of course you may be waterboarded. And for a lot of people, they say that this is definitely the worst and scariest part. And by waterboarded, I mean a sack will be put over your head and cups of water will be dropped on your face, which can be really scary because you can't see and the water makes it really hard to breathe. However, it's not as intense as real waterboarding torture, but the psychological impact is definitely real. And then according to some other accounts, at the end of your waterboarding session, you're instructed to scream as loud as you can. And the next person in the next room that's going to be waterboarded next will hear you scream. And so they'll be really scared of what's coming next because they know that's their next stop. And then they'll be instructed to scream at the end of their waterboarding session, and so on and so forth. So every single person that's about to enter that particular room hears other people screaming first, and so it just messes with their psyche before they've even experienced it. You might also get a hood placed over your head and then pushed against a wall really roughly and kept there and held there, and so roughly that it's really hard to breathe for several minutes. This is again one of the times that people have said they had thought about saying the safety word and getting out, but most people actually don't chicken out and they are able to go through the whole thing. You're generally just through the entire thing thrown around really roughly by the actors. But the good news is that everybody says you're not punched or actually harmed in any way. They don't really physically hurt you. They're just a little rough with you to get you through. People say the worst that happens is they've had some bruises upon exiting. There are some scenes including some vomiting and one person that went through said that they had to help this guy who was having a really violent hard time going to the bathroom, and he had to help him with it while he cried and screamed pitifully. And she said it wasn't scary, but it was really messed up. On another account, they said that somebody might vomit into a toilet. There might be just vomiting in general, but one person said that somebody vomited into a toilet in front of them, and then they were instructed to dig out a key from their vomit in the toilet in order to get to the next part of the haunt. There's going to be a lot of sensory deprivation. You're going to be thrown into a room, and then suddenly it'll be pitch black, and then there's going to be super loud noises with the pitch blackness just to disorient you and confuse you. Many people that go through have described being forced to crawl through a very tight space. So people with claustrophobia, this is not the place for you. They have to crawl through the really tight place, and then while they're doing it, somebody grabs their ankles, screams for them not to leave, and tries to pull them back for several minutes. One person even said that they saw the figure that was going to jump out at them, and they were posing as a dead body, and then all of a sudden comes to life and grabs them. One person said their mouth got probed with fingers, even though the actor was wearing gloves, but still. Some people have said that they've been stripped completely naked, that the actors forced them to strip naked and took their clothes off for them. And then you see flashing red lights and you see cameras everywhere. So it looks like you're being recorded. So you're walking through naked and have cameras on you. Now, I also read that they only do this in the off-season events and people that get in by invite only, and they don't just do this normally for the normal haunt. So in that case, you're kind of consenting because you know it was invite only and that more intense things might happen. But that's a really good psychological torture, because a lot of people's worst fear is being naked or being in public and having people see you walk around naked. However, in the regular haunt, the actors will very often be naked. And I don't mean mostly naked, I mean completely naked. They'll often simulate masturbation or other sexual acts with each other, and sometimes even simulating. Some people say that they're pretty much attacked out of nowhere and basically jumped, and then their shirt is lifted up and they are stapled with a staple gun. Now, of course, the staples are not real. The staple gun is empty, but they lift up your shirt, touch it to you, and you could still hear the punching and the sound effects of the staple gun in your skin. Nobody's harmed, like I said, but that one psychologically would really mess you up. And then, of course, there's the infamous tampon scene. And if you read anything about this, you'll see people who've gone through talk about this in almost every account. So they seem to do this to most people, but basically the scene is disgusting. So listen to this part at your own risk. You're led into a bathroom or a room with a woman, and she will get very close to you and tell you to quote unquote pull the string, and then you have to pull the tampon out of her. It's a used tampon, and then she'll make you put it in your mouth. Now, of course, people have said they also know that this is fake. There's no real blood involved, and they're not even really pulling a tampon out of the woman. It's simulated. It's just kind of made to be very realistic. But people have said it seems very realistic, and the taste is even very realistic. And lastly, you may also be subject to videos of some animal abuse. And again, we're pretty sure it's fake and that no real animals were harmed, but still, that would be a nope for me. So unlike McKinney Manor, where you might get your hair cut, your teeth pulled, your nails ripped off, spiders put on you, and locked in tiny spaces for a long time without being able to get out, Blackout uses sensory deprivation and also just lots of psychological tricks to make you feel like you're in danger, but the beauty is that you're not. And deep down, you know you're safe, you know you could get out if you wanted to, and they follow through with letting you out if you want to get out. The owners and creators of Blackout have said that they are trying to go after people's worst fear or just get a general response out of you, even if it's not fear. Like some of the things I described earlier are not actually scary, but just would mess with your head a lot. And like I said, you might get a little bruised up, but you won't end up in the hospital like some victims of McKinney Manor who end up with broken bones. That doesn't sound like that happens here. From every report I've read of people that I've gone through have said the actors are very professional and they make sure to keep you safe and no real bodily harm ever comes your way. Blackout is just generally really interesting because it's not actually physical fear, it's all psychological fear. I mean, if you turn on the lights while while you were in here, it would probably look very different. The fear really comes from knowing that for those few minutes while you're in there, everything is completely out of your control and that the actors can kind of do whatever they want to you. When the experience is over, people say that they are very emotionally exhausted. People often leave the haunt wide-eyed and in a zombie-like state. And for some people, they say it takes 20 minutes to an hour to even fully comprehend what happened to them. Like I said, most people don't end up using the safety word and trying to get out, even if it's scarier than they thought it was gonna be. And the people that have gone through have said this is mostly because it goes so fast. It's very fast moving. They get you through quickly. They do a lot in a short amount of time. So you don't even have time to think about how scared you are or if you want to get out because they're doing it so quickly. And it's not until afterwards that you really understand what you just went through. Obviously, you can't go in if you have epilepsy due to all the strobe lights, and it's also not recommended that you go through if you have a past history of sexual violence or abuse, PTSD, things like that. People have, and they've been fine, but if you have those past traumas, this is definitely a trigger warning for that, to think twice. If I was ever in New York, I don't think I'd be brave enough to do it myself, but who knows? Honestly, I understand the appeal to a lot of people. It's kind of like getting a tattoo. It really hurts when it's happening. You wonder how the hell you agreed to it, but there's also a huge adrenaline rush when you're getting a tattoo and this huge sense of accomplishment when you're done for having gone through the pain. And it kind of puts you in this state of this really natural high. I imagine that it's very similar to that when you're done with this. You feel accomplished, you had a huge adrenaline rush, and it all went so fast that you barely know what happened, but you get this really natural high from doing it. I don't know, but that's the sense that I got from reading so many of the reports, and that's kind of what I imagine happens. But of course, due to COVID, I don't think they're gonna open this up this year. It usually runs through the month of October, but I would imagine it's too much physical contact in order to keep everybody safe from getting sick, which is really sad because this kind of thing is what a lot of people look forward to doing every year on Halloween. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know if you would ever consider doing something like this if you got the chance. As always, thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it to the end, and I will see everybody in the next one.